We have a lot to get to tonight. I mean, we had the college or the NBA draft last night. Really weird when you think about it that it's in November. They're going to be starting up in 6 weeks or less. And, and they just ended, it seemed like yesterday. And then we got, of course, a college football, a little Major League Baseball, and the NFL to get to tonight. But we're going to start with the college or the NBA draft. But before we get there, Klay Thompson, gone. Before, he's recovering from an ACL, and he gets an even worse injury. It's one of these things where Golden State, I know nobody feels sorry for Golden State, the arrogance they had for the years or the last 4 or 5 years when they've been so good. But, I think Klay was one of the guys that people actually really liked.
Yeah.
And to see this happen 2 years in a row really hurts.
Yeah, he's the one guy on that team that I like. I think he's a good guy. I loved his dad when his dad used to play for the Lakers, Michael Thompson. I thought he was a class act and a really underrated part of that Lakers team. I know he came off the bench most of the time, but he was a solid big man with a lot of skill. And I love Klay Thompson. I love his game. I love him as a person. I think he's a really good guy. I think he did it the right way, and I was really upset to hear that he was injured. Now, I hate the Warriors, so, I guess I wasn't too broken up about it, but, I was sorry for him because this is a huge setback. I mean, you tear your knee, you work all the way back trying to get back into playing shape, trying to get back on the court, and then you have a worse, in my opinion, injury, tearing the Achilles, and it was in a workout in Los Angeles where he was actually playing, I guess, just playing some pickup ball with some other NBA players. And, that's where the question looms is, does he get paid? Is this something, since it was outside of team activities, did they try and screw him out of his money?
I always love when it comes down to that. I mean, here's a guy who puts it on the line, who helped put the Golden State Warriors back on the map. I mean, the Golden State Warriors hadn't been good since the mid-'70s. I mean, it took 30 years for them to put a product on the floor, 35 years for them to put a product on the floor. They made billions of dollars. You're thinking of millions of dollars they made just off his game jerseys. I mean, and you can't pay him come on. I mean, I would hope they would do the right thing. But even on top of that, I mean, this really puts into doubt the rest of his career. I remember when this happened, these kind of things started happening to Bernard King, and his legs. I mean, basketball, they talk about the legs, the ankles. I mean, the stress and that those guys go under, and they have to have healthy legs to make it through their career. And once that starts happening, it usually snowballs into an injury-filled career. Not being a full-time player again. I hope for his sake he can get back. But we're gonna have to see what next teammate. I mean, Kevin Durant took a full year. He hasn't been back on the court yet, really. So we'll see. We'll get a good figure in from what Kevin Durant does coming back if he makes it back with the Nets this year as to how Klay Thompson's going to be in the future, I think.
Well, yeah, and Klay Thompson's not like an above the rim type player, in my opinion. He's more of a jump shooter, more of a set shooter, and that type of thing. But this definitely, I think, will have an effect on him. I mean, they say that it's an injury that he can recover from, but you're talking about a guy who missed all of last season,
right,
and he's going to miss all of this season. That's 2 years away from basketball. We're talking about what's it going to be like Kevin Durant being away for 1 year. Imagine being away from 2.
Yeah, and it puts the Warriors under another stressful season for Steve Kerr. But like I said, no one's going to feel sorry for them. And now we have, of course, the Houston Rockets, who have like a fire sale going on with James Harden and Westbrook looking to end up in different places. And I don't think either of them is that attractive, even though neither of them is an aging superstar. They both carry a lot of baggage with with a big contract. And when you're looking around in the NBA today, especially with them, they don't bring the hardware. They don't bring the rings. I mean, it's one thing to get LeBron, I mean, if you get LeBron, it looks like you're automatically in the finals anyways. Neither of these two have ever been to a final.
They've never even been to a conference final. I think they went once, but not this past year. And, didn't he just get his coach fired?
Yeah.
And now he wants out of there. It's just kind of like, I'm not a big James Harden fan at all. I'm not going to lie about it. I don't like him. And I just don't think, the guy gets points. He gets stats, but he never wins. He can't lead his team. I mean, I'm not even talking about in the playoffs. I'm talking about when they're playing against good teams in the regular season. His game just doesn't translate into wins, and he doesn't make the people around him better, in my opinion. And, I wouldn't want him if I was going out and trying to get a bunch of players. And then I don't know if you just saw this, but the Knicks just purged their roster and got rid of about 6 players.
Well, who'd they trade now?
They got rid of Taj Gibson.
That's not bad.
They got rid of I can't even remember
Randall?
all the guys. No, they kept Randall. They got rid of Taj Gibson, Elfrid Payton, Wayne Ellington, Bobby Portis, Theo Pinson, and Kenny Wooten.
Well, none of them are really bad. I mean, Payton, I think, was somebody who was at least serviceable as a number 4 or 3 guard. I mean, coming off the bench, he could give you some quality minutes at the point. I mean, and they have no point guard per se to take his place. I mean, that kind of makes you feel that Westbrook's going to come to New York pretty soon. It looks that would be my figure, because they're moving the money, and they're moving the guy who was their starting point guard.
Yeah, I mean, they're making room for somebody. Now, they did the same thing 2 years ago and then got no one. And then had to fill their roster with 15 power forwards, as we saw. But they got rid of some power forwards. They got rid of Taj Gibson. They got rid of Bobby Portis. They got rid of a group of power forwards here. So maybe they can. But then they drafted a power forward, which we'll get into in a minute here.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is, I think Westbrook makes sense, because here's the deal with Westbrook. At this stage of his career, OKC didn't work out for him. Houston didn't work out for him. He's kind of radioactive. I mean, who wants him? I mean, the Lakers don't want him. The Clippers don't want him. The Celtics don't want him. Where does he fit in? The thing about this, he's probably, if he's figuring this right, 2 things I have feeling when I see this kind of a move. 2 things I have a feeling of. First of all, to come and rescue the Knicks are so far down where if they fail, but he still makes the money, he really doesn't take the blame.
Right.
But if he succeeds and he gets the Knicks back into the playoffs, he's a hero. The other thing is they're always flirting with bringing Melo back. Yeah. And Melo may be working for a cheaper contract. Westbrook and Melo on Broadway plays right now.
Yeah, well, if they could get Melo back and he's anything like he was last year, you get Westbrook, and then you get Julius Randle, and then you get R.J. Barrett, and then the guy that we'll talk about in a minute, who they took in the draft last night. You're talking about at least some decent chess pieces to move around the board.
Yeah, the only thing is we all know they went out and got Thibodeau, and what does Thibodeau stress? Defense. Yeah. And none of them are defensive players.
No, none of them.
I mean, there you go. No. So it'll be Thibodeau or the Highway or Thibodeau. Who knows with them? But I mean, we did. It's just another. And I'm going to leave this. You're going to be the expert on this because, NBA drafts. I'm lost. The one and dones, everything. The one I just get. So I don't see any of these guys in this draft that are going to really, move the needle a lot unless they fall into the right spot, the perfect spot. I don't see any of them, being. I mean, I'll begrudgingly. He still has to prove it totally for me, but at least Zion showed that he's got the potential to be a game changer. I don't know about these guys. What do you think? We'll start with the NBA draft. Go ahead.
Yeah, there was no Zion in this draft. That's one thing that I can tell you for sure. And the other thing I can tell you I actually watched this draft. I'm not sure why, but I did. And I think that the one thing that I came away with was this may have been the worst NBA draft I've ever seen. And I'm not taking anything away from these kids. I mean, good for them. I'm glad they were happy. I hope that a lot of them, their careers work out. But I'm just talking about when you're looking at the talent pool that they were pulling from, this is the worst I've ever seen. I mean, and my main example of that, to back up my point, is looking at the number 4 pick in the NBA draft was Patrick Williams, a guy that played for Florida State. He started 0 games this year, and he averaged 9 points and 4 rebounds.
Well, man, before we go any further, just to throw this out there to you, I mean, is this because we lost the tournaments?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of this was basically they were drafting on pure upside and pure, raw talent. And, I couldn't believe, some of these guys I understood, but this kid basically, started 0 games in his college career. Now, he only played 1 year, but how can you be the 4th pick in the NBA draft and not even be one of the top 5 players on your college team? That blew me away. Now, if you go back to the NBA draft preview show that we did a couple weeks ago, I did say that I liked Anthony Edwards the best. And the reason being that, I'd seen him play and I'd seen the talent from him as far as what he can do. This is a guy that's explosive. He can get up in the air and he can run down on transition and dunk the basketball. He's got a 40-some inch vertical leap. And then he can also shoot. He can hit 3-pointers. He can hit mid-range jumpers. He's a good shooter and he's a good scorer. So I actually did like the fact that the Timberwolves took him with the number 1 pick because I think he fits in with the Timberwolves team. They've got D'Angelo Russell. They've got, Karl Anthony Towns, the big man. And now they've got a shooting guard or a small forward, a guy that can score the basketball. So I really did I liked what happened at number 1.
So you think they finally got something that Wiggins never gave him?
He's basically Wiggins who likes basketball. Wiggins was just this ultra talented guy, but his dedication to the game, his motivation was questioned. And that was something that they questioned with Anthony Edwards. But I saw Anthony Edwards play in college, and this was a guy that was all over the place. I saw him drop 50 points on my Tennessee Volunteers, and he was the best player on the court in every game that I saw him play. And there was times like down in Maui where he just took the game over. They were playing a very, I can't even remember who it was right now, but they were playing a very good team in the first round, and they were getting beat. I think they were down by 28, and they ended up losing, but he went crazy hitting shots from the outside and just couldn't be stopped and ended up cutting the lead down to 4 at one point. So this is a guy that can change the game. This is a guy who, at least from this list of kids, I would take a chance on.
And then you got James Wiseman going to Golden State, 7'1", out of Memphis. Might not be what they need right now with Thompson going for the year, but they do have Curry that can put it in from the outside. Big man, a lot of good big men out west. Is that the hope that he can match up with these big guys?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they really haven't had a big guy that can score and create mismatches down low, since Andrew Bogut left, essentially. And this is a kid that's a very athletic big man. I saw him play at Memphis. He didn't play a small sample size. He didn't play very many games. He was suspended for a time, and then he got injured. But it was all around his eligibility. That's what the concerns were. I don't think he's a bad kid or anything. He just took some cash, which, I mean, how the hell can you blame him for that at this point? So he is a very versatile big man. He's got a lot of upside. but I don't know how he'll fit into the the Golden State Warrior team with what they've got. I like Pascal. Draymond probably has a couple years left. We'll see if Steph decides to make an appearance. Last year when all the the West Coast All-Star team was gone, little Steph had a wrist or a finger injury, and I've never heard of a basketball player missing an entire season because he broke his damn finger. But Steph decided to sit the season out since everybody else was. So I'm not a big fan of Steph, but
Obviously.
I do like this kid. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, man, this was his chance to put his team on his back and, make it respectable. I didn't expect them to make the playoffs or even win the West or anything like that. But you figure,
be a leader.
Yeah, be a leader. Go out there and win some games because of you. And, have 45 points and lose by 4, but you have an amazing game and show everybody how great you are. And he decided to sit out instead. So that really disgusted me.
The old story about DiMaggio, supposedly, why he plays so hard. Because there's a kid in the stands who is the only time in his life he'll ever get to see me play. So,
That's my exact point. Like, think of these people that went out and bought season tickets and used their hard-earned money to go and see the Golden State Warriors play in their new arena. And then, Klay goes down with an injury, and then Steph decides to sit out after he stubs his finger. And, that would disgust me if I was a Warrior fan.
Well, I would love Michael. Michael showed up.
He did.
All right, now we have probably the most polarizing family in the history of basketball, the Ball family. My God, could a father do more damage to the potential career of his kids than that guy did? He is to basketball what the Kardashian mom is to girls on TV. He's just a whore.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And I was actually a little bit surprised that he went as high as he did. I thought that he would fall a little bit just considering, what happened in his career. And, his brother was the one that got in trouble for stealing glasses in China and ended up getting kicked off the UCLA team. And then LaMelo goes over to overseas with them. Yeah, he went over to.
They're all great basketballs played.
Exactly, man. He went over there overseas, and then he went to Australia. Then he came back to the States when LeVar started his own league, which is since folded. But that's why I thought he may fall in the draft. The other reason I thought he may fall in the draft was, look at his brother. His brother was so hyped. Yep. And was talked about he was going to be the next Jason Kidd or the next Magic Johnson for the Lakers. Hell, he's not even on the Lakers anymore.
He's not even starting in New Orleans.
No, he was the second or third, depending on the night, point guard for the Pelicans. He barely even got on the court. And they talk about how great Lonzo is at defense, and I don't really see it. When I watch him play, I'm not really impressed with his defense, and he's a horrible offensive point guard. So I thought that the bolstering of his brother, who ended up not really working out as far as the number 2 pick in the draft. He's already been traded away from the Lakers, and he barely plays for the Pelicans. I thought LaMelo would fall even further, but these guys they took a chance on him at number 3.
Well, I was listening to it, and the worst thing is, it's another indictment of Michael Jordan as a scout, or as it's right up there with who's the guy, Kwame Brown, or what was as a talent evaluator, Michael can't do it for any. He can make fun all he wants about Jerry Krause. Jerry Krause may have been a jackass, might have been a bum, but he could pick out talent.
He could.
He may not like him, but he can identify talent. Michael hasn't shown that. And and another one that's going to be questionable, especially with the fact that there's nothing there for this kid there's no one there to take this kid and teach him how to be a star. I just see this kid just going the way of his brother. He'll make money, but it's just me rolling around the NBA where no one cares.
Yeah. There's no veteran star presence on Charlotte. Now, maybe if they still had Kemba Walker, I could see them making this pick and have him groom LaMelo and maybe play beside him.
Right.
But
LaMelo's, they say that his brother was the point guard and he was the shooting guard all the time. So maybe he's built to be more too. But now he's going to be forced to be the number one handler of the ball for not a great team.
No, they're not a good team, and their roster is really suspect at this point. I like PJ Washington, but he's an undersized big man. And then the one guy that I really liked on that roster, as I've said many times, is Malik Monk. And I haven't really heard what's going on there. He got suspended for, I guess, drugs, and I'm still trying to figure out whether or not it was performance enhancing drugs or whether it was like blow. I mean, I don't know, but he missed the last half of the season or more, and I'm very interested to see what happens there, because I'm not in love with that roster at all.
No, not at all. One thing to hit the Patrick Williams before we go by it. The one thing he does have going for me is he's going to have a good coach.
Who's
Donovan?
Patrick Williams or
Patrick Williams?
Yeah.
So I mean, if there's one thing that could rescue him is he's going to have a guy who showed us last year that he could take, I don't want to say questionable talent, but undiscovered talent and get the best out of it. So that might work out.
No, I think he does have, he does have some talent. I've saw several games where, he did pop on the screen with his abilities, but I'm just talking about from a what have you done standpoint.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
This is a guy that when you look at it at the end of the year, he averaged 9 points and 4 boards and was a bench player. So that just really shocked me. I think that was the biggest shock of the draft, him going at 4.
Then we got Isaac Akoro going to Cleveland. I don't know. It's hard to say anything about Cleveland right now, unless they can get LeBron or LeBron's son to come. I mean, I guess no one's going to get their heads turned. I mean, to get the guy's a solid player out of Auburn, good defender, but is he going to add enough to get the Cleveland heading back, or are they going to still be on the bottom?
Well, I thought they would go with the big man here. I really did, just considering they've got about 5 players that are exactly like this guy. But as you said, he's more of a defensive player. He's a really good on-the-ball defender, probably one of the best defenders in this draft. But, they've already got, they've been drafting guard heavy the last several years. They have Darius Garland, who they drafted out of Vanderbilt, who had a decent rookie season. They've got Kevin Porter Jr., who was a shooting guard that they drafted out of USC last year, who flashed. And then they got Colin Sexton, who they took the year before. So they already have 3 very young guards. Will now make it 4. And so I'm not sure what that means.
And I mean, I know I'm a fan of defense, especially in the NBA. If you play defense, I'm a big fan of yours. But I think number 5 in the draft's a little bit high if I'd be looking for defense. That's an offensive slot.
I agree.
I
agree. Or maybe a guy that could do both.
All right, we got. I don't know if we want to examine the Hawks and the Pistons. I want to stick to go to a local one for up here. Obi Toppin comes out. A lot of talk yesterday about it before the draft. Knicks moved up to get him. Dayton. The good thing about him, I like him, is the fact is he's not a one and doneer, and at this stage, it's not what the Knicks need.
No, I actually really liked this pick. As far as I love the first pick, as I mentioned. And other than the first pick, this was probably my second favorite pick in the draft, just because this is a kid that's worked his butt off. This is a kid that has developed his basketball game and proven that, he can get it done on the big stage. I mean, he was leading Dayton to an undefeated record. He's very versatile. He can play down low. He's got a good shot from the outside. He's very athletic. I like the guy. I mean, I know he's 22 years old, and that probably is the reason he didn't go higher. But I liked the Knicks going and grabbing this guy, even though they've got 14 power forwards. I liked this pick because I like this kid. He's from New York. You saw him; he couldn't even talk after they drafted him because he was bawling, crying. He was so happy. And that's the first guy I've seen excited to go to the Knicks in a long time.
So you're telling me that in basketball terms, 22 is the new 30?
Hey, I'm serious, man. There's people that were asking, what is this guy's ceiling? Is he already at the ceiling? I'm like, he was the best player in college basketball. What the hell higher ceiling do you want? He won the Wooden Award, for Christ's sake.
At least he's used to putting it down every night for this one and done has ruined it for me. I just despise the one and dones. And we'll see.
I liked it better when you could just go straight out of high school, because what that did was that eliminated the one and done guys. Right. There was nobody that went for 1 year. You either went for 3 years or you went straight to the NBA. And I liked that better because it didn't destroy college basketball. These guys that wanted to go straight from high school, the LeBrons, the Kobes, the Kevin Garnetts, those guys could just go and start making money. But the kids that needed to develop and needed to get better at basketball, they went and played college basketball. And that's why college basketball was so great. And I think the one and done has definitely hurt the game.
All right, we're going to skip the Wizards because who knows what's going on with them. I want to talk about the Phoenix Suns. Jalen Smith. The Suns were the most impressive team in the bubble. What does he bring to them?
I didn't expect the Suns to pick Jalen Smith. I like Jalen Smith. I mean, he's just a freak athlete. He's 6'10", 225 pounds, and he's got a 7'2" wingspan. So this is a guy that played a lot of center in college, and that's one of the reasons that I didn't think the Suns would take him, because they already have a center. They've got DeAndre Ayton, who actually played very well in the bubble. Their whole team did, but he really showed me something. So, we're going to see what they do with him. I don't know if they'll play him primarily at power forward. I guess that's the plan. But, this kid is a hard worker. He seems to be a really, really good kid who doesn't mind working hard. He made 37% of his three-pointers while he was at Maryland and shot 75% from the free throw line. So this is a kid that, although he's huge and he's a big guy, he can shoot the basketball. So maybe that's what they're thinking with him, that they can play him at the 3 or at the 4 and have him there on the court at the same time as Ayton.
San Antonio, I mean, everybody knows they're kind of in flux right now. Wondering if how long he's going to stick around. The team, you saw him last year. Not the same. Not our fathers or our Spurs, shall we say? They went out and got Devin Vassell, Florida State. Does he answer any of their needs, or is it just something we're just going to be seeing how he works out? Is he going to be one of those average players?
I'm not 100% sure. I think that he does have a lot of upside, and I think he's a lot like who they drafted last year in Keldon Johnson, the guy out of Kentucky. So I guess at that point in the draft, you just take the best player available, and I guess that's what they did. And I think at that point, at number 11, he was the best player available in my mind. I know all the idiots on the ESPN broadcast liked Halliburton, but I actually like Devin Vassell more just because he's a better shooter, in my opinion, and just a better, more fluid player. But we'll see. We'll see how he fits in. The Spurs have to answer a lot of questions. Are they going to get rid of some of the older guys they have? Are they going to keep LaMarcus Aldridge? Are they going to keep DeMar DeRozan? I kind of think that drafting Devin Vassell here may may spell the end of the DeMar DeRozan experiment in San Antonio.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a iffy, if not a failed move there. I mean, he hasn't turned out to be what they wanted. No. You just touched on Tyrese Halliburton. He's going with the Sacramento Kings, a team that is looking for some way to get back out there. I mean, they're the poor sisters of California. I mean, they're not the Clippers, they're not the Lakers, they're not the Warriors. Halliburton, does he do anything to help them get heading back the right direction?
I don't know. I mean, the Kings have been just so out of it for so long. You kind of would have expected them to be higher in this draft, but they based on the lottery, that's not how it works. But their best player, in my opinion, is De'Aaron Fox, their point guard, and they drafted another point guard. So I don't know what the hell that means, but I think, and I'm not an executive with the Kings, but my thought is that they're going to play these guys at the same time. From what I heard, they love this kid. They fell in love with him in the interview process. He's a very personable young man and a very smart kid who also has a very good basketball IQ. And so I think they just fell in love with him, and they just decided they were going to take him if he was there, and he ended up falling to him. And so now I guess they're going to figure out how to use 2 point guards.
All right, now we got Kyra Lewis Jr., Alabama. The biggest thing for him is point guard to be running with Zion. Do you see him filling that need to be the guy to push Zion up and be his number 2 guy?
Eventually, this is a kid that needs to develop. He needs to get bigger. I mean, he's 6'3", 160 pounds, or at least that's what they list him at. But I don't know if he weighs that much. So, but I do like him. He's very fast. He's kind of a pass first guard, which obviously I think they need. But he did get better from 3-point land as the year went on. He shot 79% from the free throw line, and he shot 36.1 from 3. So I think his shot has gotten better in 2 college seasons. So that's a good thing. They need somebody that can open up the floor. That's the main thing that they were wanting to get in this draft, is somebody that can open up the floor and create some space for the big man Zion Williamson to work. And they got rid of Drew Holiday, which I was kind of surprised about. But Zion needs more touches. He needs the ball in his hands more often. And so I kind of understood the move. And I think that with having Lonzo, that they can probably play Lonzo until Lewis Jr. is ready.
All right, we're getting to the end of our NBA section. Anything else we want to touch on here before we move on? Because we got to make sure we get the football tonight too.
The only other one that I would talk about the only other 2 picks that I liked that I wanted to touch on real quickly was the Precious, my boy Precious, who's my favorite name in the draft. But also I like this kid, man. He's a banger. He's out of Memphis. He's huge. He's 6'9", 225. And that was the thing that I really thought that the Heat needed, as when they got into the finals. Obviously, they didn't need much help, getting through the East. But once they got up against the Lakers, you saw when Bam Adebayo got injured, they really struggled for anybody to guard Anthony Davis and to bang with him down low. So I think this was a great pick by the Heat. I think he'll be what they need down low and be able to help Bam, in down in the box. And then I like the pick after that, Tyrese Maxi, who went to the 76ers. This is a very talented kid, really good, versatile guard who can play the point. He can play the shooting guard. He's only 6'3", but he's got a 6'8" wingspan. So that translates into the NBA. And I saw this kid get a lot better as he went along. And I think that'll be somebody that can help with the 76ers rebuild.
Well, I'll tell you, Precious, that's like the NBA lottery. You go into a team that overachieved in the playoffs, is on its way up with a lot of talent, playing in Miami. with Pat Riley, who knows how to acquire talent, and Spoelstra as a coach. I mean, that is the NBA lottery.
Yeah, no, he hit the mother load, man. He went to the Eastern Conference champs, a team that was a game or two away from winning the NBA Finals, and just an unbelievable organization. The Heat is an organization that other teams in the NBA, try to be like, and the ones that don't should try and be more like.
Definitely. All right, let's move on to college football. Of course, last week, another bad week for your boy Harbaugh. This man is just now he's got a full-blown quarterback controversy on his hand to go with the fact that he's off to the worst start in Michigan since 1967. I mean, could you ask for you that Christmas came early? But
I love it.
I mean, what is wrong? He's going to get a pro job next year. He's going to get a buyout. He'll be the Jets coach. You know that. But I mean, as far as this Michigan team, how bad has he spoiled it? And first of all, who could go in there and just bring it back up to what it used to be?
This is a conversation I've had many times over the past few days. I don't know. I don't know who can. I don't know if anyone can. It's the same thing right here in Knoxville. It's the same thing in Nebraska. It's the same thing down in Texas, in Austin. These are programs that when I was growing up, they were in the top 10, top 5 every year. Nebraska, Michigan, Texas, Tennessee. They were the powerhouses in college football, and they aren't anymore. And I don't know if anybody can bring them back at this point. It's just, the luster has worn off. And, I don't know if anybody can bring Michigan back to where they feel like they should be. And, if Jim Harbaugh can't do it, I don't know who can. But this is the one thing I don't like about all this is that Jim's going to be gone probably. And I was hoping that he would do just well enough to stay there because we kick his ass every year. So I was hoping he'd stick around. But, now it's this week
Rodgers.
he's playing Greg Schiano and becomes the asshole bowl with Jim Harbaugh and Greg Schiano. I can't think of two bigger assholes. And I don't know who I want to lose this game more. Jimmy or Greg, because I hate both of them. And, this will be the true test to see how bad the Wolverines are if they cannot beat Rutgers in New Jersey on Saturday, because this is actually going to be a pretty good game based on how bad both these teams suck.
Well, I tell you, I'm interested to see the game for one reason, and that's Cade McNamara, who I was high on coming out of Nevada. Going to Notre Dame, and then he opted out of Notre Dame and went to Michigan. He was an early signing, and he's the one who got their one touchdown last week. So we'll see if he might get a start. Who knows? We'll see if he has any kind of potential from what I saw. We're going to start the rest of the day at the end because I want to save the best for last. Oklahoma State, big game for the Sooners, and for Lincoln Riley and his boys. Oklahoma State's 5-1. They're 5-2. They could really jumble up this and make the Big Eight maybe into a race over the last 4 or 5 weeks. If they win this game, what do you think about Oklahoma?
Yeah, I mean, the last few weeks, I'd say Oklahoma's probably been one of the best teams in college football. And they actually have a real coach there with Lincoln Riley. He's a guy that knows what he's doing. I know they lost 2 games and all that, but me and you kind of expected that this year. This was a guy where they were going to play a young, redshirt freshman who was going to be on the field for the first time.
Right.
And it was going to be, there was going to be some growing pains, and there were. But you know what? When he benched him in that, what was it, the Texas? Was it the Texas game? Yeah. When he took him out and benched him in the Texas game and had him stand over there on the sidelines for a little while, ever since he put him back in, we've seen a different Spencer Rattler. He hasn't been trying to win the game himself. He hasn't been trying to do too much. he's been doing what Lincoln Riley tells him to do within the offense, and it's been very, very successful. This is a guy that's thrown for 2,000 yards and 18 touchdowns. And to be honest, I'm expecting Oklahoma to win this game just based on what I've seen the last few weeks.
And, it would just be the way that the mullet falls right there. This is one of those games he can never get over the hump. But if he's going to, everything's working in his direction this year, but I don't think he's going to. Iowa State's going to take Kansas State on. Kansas State, of course, lost their quarterback, kind of reeling. Iowa State has yet to be the team we thought they were going to be. And I hear that there's a lot of rumors going about their coach going to the pros now because of the jobs that might be open and he thought of really well. I don't know if that's a distraction. I don't know if it's a serious rumor or not. But this is another area where Iowa State, number 17 in the country, also, they're on Oklahoma State's heels, just like Oklahoma is. What do you think about Iowa State?
Yeah, I mean, I liked what I saw out of them last week. I thought that was their best all-round game so far this season. It's not like Oklahoma State just went in there and laid an egg. I mean, it was a close ball game that went back and forth, and I was very impressed. This is what I expected. Last week is what I expected from the beginning of the year from Iowa State and Matt Campbell. And I guess it took them a little while to get out of the gate, but they looked like they were performing the way I thought they would perform from the beginning. They're favored by 11 in this game, and I expect them to keep rolling. And I expect them to handle Kansas State.
Next, we're going to the 3:30 games. You and I both agree Pat Fitzgerald's one of our favorite coaches in the country.
Love him.
4-0, but he comes up against Wisconsin, who right now they've only played 2 games, but they've looked pretty damn good in both those games. And their young quarterback seems to be something special. It's got, to me, this has to be, can the Northwestern defense play well enough to get Wisconsin slowed down and this foolish young quarterback enough to turn Wisconsin back into what they usually are, a run first, run second, run third team before they ever throw the ball.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a big challenge for Northwestern because in the first game that Wisconsin played, it was Graham Mertz throwing the football all over the place. And it looked like, oh my gosh, this is not your daddy's Wisconsin Badgers because they were just throwing the football nonstop. And then last week against the Wolverines, he was more of a game manager. And I'm not saying that in how some people use that as a negative term. I'm not thinking of that as a negative term at all. I'm just saying that he wasn't trying to do too much. He was just taking what the defense gave him. They were running the ball, setting up the pass with the run, and it looked a lot more like Wisconsin football. So I think he can pretty much do it all. I love this kid. He's like the best quarterback I've ever seen at Wisconsin. He's only played 2 games. So we'll see if he can keep it rolling. But I expect this to be a pretty good game because Northwestern – they're 4-0, and they haven't played any cupcakes, man. They played all Big Ten teams, and they've won every game. So Pat Fitzgerald's done a heck of a coaching job so far this season, and I've been very impressed with what Northwestern's been able to accomplish thus far.
Yeah, Merch is a great story considering that he went there because his mom was a Green Bay Packer fan or something like that, they said. So that's why he chose Madison.
Yeah, he had offers everywhere. I mean, this is a kid that did not lose a game in high school, and he could have gone anywhere and played anywhere. He had offers from Alabama, any big Power 5 school you can think of, and he said that he wanted to go and change the persona of the Wisconsin quarterback. He wanted to go there and be the first guy that really excelled playing the quarterback position at Wisconsin, which is primarily known as a running back school.
And we'll go small time just once quickly before we get to the big game. Appalachian State against Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers 7-0, the Mountaineers 6-1. Any thoughts on that game?
This should be a good test for our Chanticleers. I can't believe we're still talking about them, but we are. But Appalachian State's a program that has had success. Appalachian State has won a number of national championships. Obviously, it was at the the FCS level, and it wasn't the big time D1 level. But they're a school that even when they started playing Division I, they went into the Big House and won. So this is a good test for Coastal Carolina and my boy, the quarterback Grayson McCall. We're going to see if he can keep the magic going. I know they're favored by 5.5, but I expect this to be a really close game, and I give Appalachian State a good shot at winning.
Now your Buckeyes got Indiana. Indiana, everybody's little Cinderella this year. Indiana, the little school that could, it seems. Now they're a football school. Used to be a basketball school all the time. I don't see Indiana. I think what do you say? The chariot turns back into a pumpkin this weekend. I mean, I don't know. I don't see them being able. There's just too much.
Yeah, I mean, they do not stack up with the Buckeyes across the board talent-wise. But you know what? To be honest, they didn't stack up across the board with the other teams they played. Michigan has more talent than they do. Penn State has more talent than they do. And they beat both those teams. So I think that I love their coach. I really do. I think he's a very, very good coach. And I don't know if you saw, but his son plays linebacker for the Hoosiers, and he was injured last week in a very serious injury. And to see, just to see him as a dad out there as well as a head coach, it really, it really
at your heartstrings.
It did, man. I almost started bawling, crying because you see these guys as more, as human beings instead of just players and coaches. And it meant a lot to me to see him out there and to hear him talk about his son and how upset he was for the injury. But, I got to imagine that he's sitting there and talking to his team and showing them the press clippings where they're 20.5-point underdogs.
And undefeated.
And they're undefeated. They're 4-0, and they beat some very good football teams. And they're almost 21-point dogs. I'm sure that's got to be a motivating factor. And Ohio State, we've only played 3 games, and we've been off for a couple weeks now. So the thing you don't want to do is come out slow and let Indiana hang around. You want to jump on them early. You want to score quick and get ahead because if we can get ahead, I think that we can stomp them out pretty quickly.
Well, I tell you, it really speaks volumes that they're 20 points behind. But you can't help but root a little bit for Indiana just because of what they've done so far this year. But we'll have to see. 12 o'clock on Saturday should be a huge game. I mean, not a lot of other big games out there to look at. You got the Gophers against Purdue. You got maybe, looking at Auburn, Tennessee a little bit. But, I mean, this is really not a big week for big teams going on. Maybe USC, Utah could be interesting when Utah hasn't played yet, and USC's 2-0. But I think we hit on every team we should hit right now.
USC could very easily be 0-2.
Yeah, remember. True. 1 point and the other one very close. How about let's talk. You wanted to talk about your favorite Met not being available this year.
I mean, it just keeps getting worse. The trade to bring a 37-year-old Robinson Cano in, and then he has a horrible first year with the Mets. His second year, he actually started to play a little bit better, and he hit over 300, and we're like, okay, well maybe there's a Robinson Cano resurgence, and then he tests positive for performance-enhancing drugs again, and is now out the entire season. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? I mean, if it wasn't the Mets, I wouldn't even believe it. But since it's the Mets, it kind of makes sense almost, doesn't it?
It's just, the whole thing about this performance-enhancing drug. I mean, you know how people have coaching trees? This is kind of like the Alex Rodriguez PED tree. I mean, because you got Cano, Melky Cabrera. You got these guys that played with the Yankees when when A-Rod was there and A-Rod was getting suspended. And where do you think they got this idea from? Where, I mean, obviously, I know that it's kind of unfair to say, but whose example do you think they were following? I mean, and now the worst thing is this one I understand because he's getting up there in age. He doesn't know how many years he's got left, and he's trying to make his contract look doable. The one when he was doing it when he was young and he had all talent, he was doing it just for the money, and that's when you get mad at. This one you sit there and you go, it's like a foolish old man. It's like, give it up. If you can't do it anymore legitimately, why are you even trying? You should be a millionaire 17 times over. First of all, he's been playing at such a bad rate that he's holding up the development of some good young Met players. Yeah. And that hurts you enough. I mean, why, if you get out of there, if he had gotten out of there 2 years ago, McNeil could have been the second baseman for 2 years and just established himself and Alonso as one side of the infield. But instead, they got McNeil playing left field, third base, shortstop, second base sometimes, and not even. And then, meanwhile, you're trying to make Cano look like he's Cano of 2009, which he never was. So, yeah, I would.
Yeah, no, it may end up being a good thing for the Mets, to be honest with you, because they'll get to play McNeil at second, and they won't waste their time with him. I mean, it's not good, obviously, but I'm just saying that at least they don't even have to decide how long to play Cano and what to play and where to play him this year or anything like that. I mean, he's gone.
And I hope, Steve Cohen, I mean, he's a rich man, which means he probably has some good legal minds that work for him. I'd like to see him find a way to get out of that contract.
Well, they don't have to pay him this year.
They shouldn't have to pay him beyond this year either, because the fact of the matter is that this is the second time this contract was signed under false pretenses. There should be some way that they can go in there. I know that the players' union in baseball is supposed to be the most powerful, but it's not what it used to be. This is not the players' union of Marvin Miller and Donald Fear. This is the players' union of Tony Clark. And I just think this is a time when they could maybe get rid of that contract off their books and say goodbye. Good riddance. See you later.
Oh, I think they're going to try, but you know what? They definitely are, out from under $24 million that they were going to have to pay him for this year, because $7.5 million of his salary for this year was going to be paid by the Mariners. So, that's definitely some cash relief. And I think if there's any way or any loopholes to get out of the rest of that contract, I think they'll do it.
All right, let's hit to the pros, the pro football. We got some interesting games coming up this weekend, starting with tonight. Arizona coming off that miracle finish, and Seattle is reeling. Seattle, you've been on their defense all year long, and rightfully so. This is not a good place, I don't think, for Seattle to be with Arizona, who seems to be really rounding into shape for a good November, December push to try and get that Western division. Could we have Arizona finally taking that division? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the worst team that the Seahawks could have to face right now. The Cardinals can run it. The Cardinals can throw it. The Cardinals can pretty much do anything they want to on offense, or at least the last few weeks they have been able to. Kenyon Drake is supposed to be back and playing. DeAndre Hopkins is playing the best football he's played ever. And this quarterback, I mean, what the hell? They just named a pass after him, the Hail Murray. So, he's doing some amazing things. And, I just don't think that the Seahawks defense has any answers. I know they've got Ken Norton. I know they have Pete Carroll. These are two guys that know defense. But, man, there's just so many problems to fix. And I really don't see them being able to fix them in 1 week. And it's going to be it's going to be a hard game for them to win, just with all their defensive deficiencies. And then what we've seen over the last few weeks, Russell Wilson has to play. He knows he better than anyone knows that he has to play perfect in order for them to win. And he's trying to do too much, and it's backfiring on him.
Then I want to swing over to Philadelphia, Cleveland. Here's two teams that you can love and hate depending on the week it's in. I loved them last week because they were losing to the Giants, Philadelphia. And I want to see Cleveland do it to them too. I mean, I'm rooting definitely for Cleveland to keep the Giants roll and pitiful playoff hopes alive. But I'd also love to see Baker Mayfield wake up and this Cleveland team. I like Stefanski. I root for Cleveland to do something, and just for the people of Cleveland, really. And this is a game they should go in there and really do something to Philadelphia. They have all the reason to win.
Yeah, I mean, they should come out and kick their butt. This should be the game where the Browns make a statement. They've got Nick Chubb is back. He's healthy. They've got Kareem Hunt. He's back. He's healthy. They don't have to deal with OBJ and all of his mouth. They don't have to target him 20 times. They can just throw the ball to whoever's open. Imagine that. And run the football. And I expect them to do just that. The Browns are only favored by 3, which was a little bit surprising to me, considering they're playing at home and they have a 6-3 record, where the Eagles are 3-5-1 and Carson Wentz is, just having all kinds of problems. So I expect the Browns to win this game. I think if they're going to take the next step and kind of get rid of some of the Browns folklore, this is a game they need to win.
Next, we're going to go to stay down south a little bit here. New Orleans against Atlanta. Breeze, have we heard any updates on him? I heard Jameis Winston's going to be starting this game.
Yeah, Breeze is definitely out. He's got 5 broken ribs and a collapsed lung, and he is not going to be able to play. The question is, how long is he going to be out? Traditionally, he's been a pretty fast healer, but that's going to be up to the doctors, and they're going to have to clear him. But the Falcons have won 3 in a row. They're playing a lot better football since Raheem Morris took over. And the question is going to be, can the Saints offense keep going with Jameis or Taysom Hill or both of them playing quarterback? And I think both of them, we'll see both of them playing. And I think Jameis will be the main guy. I think he'll start at quarterback, and I think he'll be out there the majority of the time. But if he struggles at all, I think Sean Payton will just put Taysom Hill back there and run the ball at him.
And this is one of the situations where the wisdom of picking up Jameis Winston always weighs on me here. First of all, I agree with you. Atlanta, when you think about the games Atlanta gave away early in the season, they're 3-6 right now. Oh my God! I mean, with the fact that New Orleans is reeling a little bit, the Bucs are reeling a little bit. If they had won 2 of those games, they'd be right in the race right now. You have, Matty Ryan. Matty Ice is a good quarterback. Good to great, whenever it depends on you go around there. But they know Jameis Winston. He's been in their division since he got to the NFL, so he's not going to surprise them with anything. Taysom Hill, the thing, he's getting skewered up here because of getting paid $17 million to basically be, part-time quarterback, part-time wide receiver, part-time this. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is another Bart Scott. I mean, this guy, I would hate to have him writing a history book, because this week he said that Dennis Smith, when the Jets invented what Taysom Hill does, because they had Dennis Smith for a year. He goes, Brad Smith. I'm sorry.
Brad Smith.
They invented that. They used Brad Smith that way when he was with the Jets. First of all, would you understand that the slash position started with Cordell Stewart in Pittsburgh?
It definitely did.
It did not start with Brad Smith.
No.
And, he just annoys me because he wants to make himself and Rex Ryan look out to be more than they were.
Well, yeah, and Brad Smith did it when he played for the Bills before he got to the Jets, and it was actually better at it when he played at the Bills. And I don't compare Taysom Hill and Brad Smith at all. Taysom Hill is basically a tight end slash running back, H-back, in my opinion. He's an H-back. He runs the football, he blocks, he catches some passes, any special teams. But he does it better than anyone else does, and that's why he gets paid so much. But he's also, the third string, second string, or third string quarterback, and that's also why he gets paid what he does. But I think they'll still use him. I think that's one of the reasons that they got Jameis Winston, is that if Drew Brees did go down, they want to do the same thing they did last year, where they play someone else at quarterback and they keep using Taysom Hill like they have been, and have someone else playing quarterback full time.
All right, now we're going to slide over there to your home side of the field. Two teams that really need a couple of victories to get themselves back to where they were early in the season. The Titans and the Ravens, both of them, even though 6-3, in real strong position for the playoffs, and I think both of them will make it. Both are not playing their best ball right now, and it is November now. This is when you want to start playing your best ball. So talk to me about this Titans-Ravens game.
I got to be honest, man. I'm really feeling the Ravens in this one, and that is essentially mainly due to what I've seen out of the Titans the last 4 weeks. I know that they got a victory against the Bears, but we've all seen what the Bears are in the last 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, they have zero offense, and they can't really score to save their lives. And the Titans barely beat them 24-17. And the other 3 games they've played in the last 4, they lost. They lost to the Steelers in a close one, but they were losing bad early. And then they lost to the Bengals 31-20. And then they lost last week. They got pretty much beat down by the Colts 34-17. So I'm just not liking what I've seen from the Titans the last few weeks. Their passing game just seems to be off. The holes are not there for Derrick Henry to run through like they have been in the past. I think partially that's due to Taylor Lewan being injured, but also, Jack Conklin being gone. That's not the same offensive line that they had last year, and I think that's showing up. And they've also been having some serious problems on special teams. I don't know if you watched the Colts game last week, but they missed another field goal. They had a 17-yard punt, and then they had a blocked punt returned for a touchdown. So with their injured punter, they're seriously struggling on special teams. And I don't know. I haven't liked what I've seen from the Titans, and I expect the Ravens to get right.
Just a quick glance at this one, because I got more important games ahead of this. Miami, Denver. I think Miami is really becoming a team that, before our eyes, they may be a year away from being true playoff team, but I think they're going to make the playoffs with this team, with this team this year.
I do too, especially the way they're playing. I expect them to have no problems with the Broncos, just with the way that defense has been playing and the way that their quarterback looks so calm, cool, and collected. He does not look like a rookie, in my opinion. I mean, he's making some rookie mistakes, but he just looks so calm and he's so collected back there, and he's making the throws that he has to make to win football games. And I expect them to keep doing what they're doing, and they're just a very well-coached team. And when you're talking about Brian Flores and our boy Vic Fangio, I like Flores a lot more.
In any race you can come up with, in any card game you can come up with, in any duel you can come up with, I go with Flores. I mean, any sport you want to pick up. Yeah. All right, now these are 2 games that have definite NFC North ramifications in it. First of all, you got Green Bay against Indianapolis, and of course Indianapolis has been the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde of the whole football season, depending on what Rivers does. But I got to say one thing. Is there any more hated quarterback, I think, than Aaron Rodgers right now? I mean, I never really thought about him that much. I mean, I admired the way he was able to play. But, I mean, he's gone from being, the celebrated greatest quarterback in the world to thought of as a jerk in a lot of cases. I saw Jennings, his old wide receiver, coming on national TV this week, talking about how when he was there, Aaron Rodgers had something to do with chasing him out of town.
Yeah, well, I've heard all the stories, and, just a guy that doesn't even really speak to his own family, I think says a lot for the personality of Aaron Rodgers. Now, even before all this happened, I hated him just because I was a huge Brett Favre fan, and I thought it was disgusting the way they drafted him. But obviously that turned out to work out pretty good for him. But I still hate the guy, and I think he's going to get lit up this week. I love the way that the Colts defense is playing. I think that's one of the reasons they were able to beat the Titans last week, is that the Colts defense is for real. Their secondary is playing well enough that DeForest Buckner has really bolstered that defensive line. And then I love Darius Leonard and their linebacking core. So I think that the Colts have the defense that's going to give the Packers some serious problems.
And then we got Minnesota against Dallas. Dallas is, this is not – I did the Dallas team before Jerry Jones bought them. But, I mean, Minnesota, who's gotten really well since Cook's gotten back in the lineup, you couldn't ask for a better situation here. They're 4-5. If Green Bay was to go to 7-3, they're right in the rearview mirror. Minnesota, I don't see them backing off. I see them beating Dallas down.
I do too, and even when the Vikings were losing games, they were right there. I mean, they were just getting things. A lot of changes happened, over the offseason with the Vikings, and with no real offseason to speak of, they started off a little bit flat, but they didn't get blown out in any game. And they're really starting to turn it on. And Kirk Cousins is playing good football. Dalvin Cook is healthy and doing what Dalvin Cook does. And then their young rookie wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, is really, really playing the part of a star. And he's starting to take the place of Stephon Diggs, and that's what's making them fire on all cylinders. I expect them to kick the Cowboys' ass on Sunday at 4:25 Eastern.
And then we got Kansas City and Vegas. It couldn't come at a worse time for Vegas, who's getting hit with the COVID. Also, the fact that they beat Kansas City, the only team to beat Kansas City and keep them from being undefeated this year. A lot of revenge factor on the Chiefs side of the field with a reeling Raiders team. I have a feeling that Kansas City is going to get their revenge.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know if you heard about this, but apparently after the game, when the Raiders won, they took about 4 or 5 victory laps around Arrowhead Stadium.
Ooh, I didn't hear that.
And old Coach Reed didn't like it, and he let his players. He filmed it and he let his players know about it. So I think that the Chiefs are going to be fired up and ready for this one. I think they're going to want to exact revenge on the Raiders, and I think they're a better football team than the Raiders. So I expect them to win this game.
And then the last game to look at, another team that you can't get a handle on is the Rams, of course, because of their offense, basically. But they got the Buccaneers. Brady. This is when Brady traditionally starts playing his best ball in November. This is when he has to start playing his best ball. And like I said, going up before there, you got New Orleans, and I think Atlanta has a really good chance of beating New Orleans and opening the door a little bit for the Buccaneers. What do you think about this game?
I agree with all of your points. The only thing that I would add to that is the last 3 times this season that old TB12 has played on primetime, he's looked horrible. The first game against the Saints, he was through 2 interceptions that were both ridiculous and were just horrendous. And then the second game was against the Giants, which you and me both think that the Giants should have won that game. Yep. And we're the better team that night. And then the third appearance on primetime was when he got his butt shellanked against the Saints the second time and lost 38-3 in a game that could have been about 100-0 if they wanted it to be. So we're going to see if he can actually put together a ball game on Monday night. Now he's got Antonio Brown now, and he's starting to open things up a little bit for their offense. And the question is going to be which Rams team shows up. I swear to God, some weeks the Rams look like the best team in the NFL, and then when I pick them to win, they lose. So I have no idea what to expect out of the Rams.
So you're basically saying that at Tom Brady's age, he has to go to bed at 7?
I guess. I heard what they're doing is What I heard they're doing is they're practicing at night now because old man Brady goes to bed so early that these late night games have been causing him issues. So now they're going to be practicing at nighttime to try and get the coffee going and keep old TB12 up.
At least Giselle knows where he is. He's home in bed.
There's nothing that can make. Yeah, there's nothing that would make me happier than watching Aaron Donald crunch Tom Brady on Monday Night Football. I would be standing there. Steve Levy and Brian Greasy can't even annoy me if Aaron Donald's crunching Tom Brady on the turf.
One last thing. The old ball coach Belichick came up with a surprising win last week. But he's 5 losses. I mean, he still has to make up a lot of ground. But do you think Buffalo or Miami's looking in the rearview mirror at all?
I think they should. I don't know if they are, but I certainly have noticed the last few weeks that the Patriots have found their running back. I mean, Damian Harris is legit, and this wasn't a fluke. Him running for 121 yards against the Ravens last week. He's done it every time he's been out on the field, and I think this is a formula that Belichick and Josh McDaniels can work with. They just needed something, anything to work with, and they didn't have anything until they finally put Damian Harris in. So, they got N'Keal Harry back, and he's not that great, but they have found something in Jacoby Myers. He's played amazing the last few weeks. So if they can get Bird involved and they can keep Myers going and they can feed the football to Damian Harris and keep running Cam some, I could see them winning this game.
Nice. All right. So what was our record last week with the No Doubt picks of the week?
Last week we were 1-1.
Okay, so that brings us up the year. What we had for the year?
Now we are at. I think I'm at 12-6.
Still a good record.
Not bad. Winning more than I've lost.
Exactly. So who are our 2 picks for this week?
All right, this week I am going to stick with the team that I've picked against about 6 times, and that is the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about it before. I think Brian Flores is the coach of the year. I think that they're hitting on all cylinders, and I think that this is going to be Tua's coming out party. I think he's going to finally open some things up with the passing game, and that's just going to help their total overall offense. And I expect them to win this game against the Broncos pretty handily. My next pick is the one game we already talked about, and that's the Colts-Packers. I'm picking the Colts. I'm one of the few that is picking the Colts, but I expect them to win. I think that your boy Phillip Rivers is finally feeling comfortable with his receivers and with his offense, and he hit about 9 different guys last week against the Titans, and I just think their defense is too good, and the Packers' defense sucks too bad. So I'm picking the Colts, and I'm picking the Dolphins.
Well, I'm not totally against the Colts and Rivers. I just say that I've said it since the beginning of the season. I just didn't see the point in that pickup. When you got a team that is at best fifth, maybe fourth in your conference. I mean, they aren't as good as Kansas City, but the whole thing is I thought that Tennessee and the Ravens were going to be much, much better, but it looks like the Steelers proved to be the Ravens, and we'll see. We'll just have to see. I mean, I hate to talk myself out of it, but we'll see. I think Phillip is going to have stuck around the party too long to get to his Super Bowl. I don't think he's going to make it.
Well, I think he gives them a lot better chance to win than Jacoby Brissett does.
Oh, no doubt about it.
And I think that was their thinking. I think they were thinking if we can get Phillip Rivers right now, which they could, that we can bring him in and maybe for a year or two he can at least help us win the division and give us a shot. And the last few weeks he hasn't been throwing the ball 40 times. I mean, they've been handing the ball off, they've been running the ball, and then they've just been spreading the ball around when they do throw it. So, it's worked out so far. They're 6-3. They're 3-1 at home, and they've got the Packers coming to town. So, and
nothing worse, nothing would be better than to see Aaron Rodgers eat a little humble pie. All right. Well, that is it for us tonight. The Safety and the Sportswriter, Knoxville Nate and Joe. Another good week of sports. We got a lot of good things to go over this weekend. We hope we got you guys' appetites wet for it. And tonight we have Arizona against Seattle to start it off. I know Ohio State, you'll be playing with your daughter early, so you'll be back in front of the TV for that. And good luck. Have a great weekend. And we will see you on Tuesday.
Go Buckeyes.
See you later.
See you, bye.